have got a very, very special new thought leader with me here today. Her name is Buffy Owens, and she is the creatrix, the founder of conscious movement. So she's bringing conscious movement and conscious awareness to her community. What a fantastic thing to be doing in this world where we're so disconnected from our bodies. So she's an embodiment coach and helping people become present. So, Buffy, it is so great for you to be doing this work in the world. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so excited about our conversation. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means, being an embodiment coach?
Yeah, really at the heart of it, it's learning to trust the deep wisdom of your body. So to quiet the noise so you can trust your instincts, your intuition, and really the deep wisdom of your wholeness, every aspect of yourself.
Beautiful. So I'm trained as a movement therapist. I did that in my early
Mhm.
20s. I'm now in my 50s and I've been doing other things, but I'm trained in lots of modalities. But from what I understand with the movement therapy training that I've done, is it's bringing in like the mind, the body, the spirit, all the different aspects. So it's a very spiritual awakening kind of experience where you're moving, but bringing in all of that consciousness to awaken. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, I would say that is definitely part of it, right? This aspect of almost remembering that they're not separate, right? That the body is not separate from the mind or even really the embodiment of spirit. It's really all one thing. And so there is that, I'd say that spiritual aspect of it. And then there's also the capacity to really use the the movement as a window in to deeper awareness and to working with and transforming things that are below the threshold of awareness, so the pre-conscious or the subconscious mind. So it allows really for multifaceted, many windows into change and transformation. Yeah.
Mm, I love that. I love how you just deepened right into it. I do a conscious dance here in Wellington, New Zealand, and I tell you what, I've had some huge breakthroughs in my spiritual connection, in like having therapy happen on the dance floor. For example,
Yeah.
I your work is so powerful. Thank you for this work that you're doing in the world. It is really, really needed. So I'm so grateful to have you here with me today. And we're going to dive right into the leadership questions. So I can
Perfect.
see that you're a powerful leader leading a movement of awakening consciousness through the movement practice. And I'm so excited to have you on our 3 day summit too, because you're going to be leading us through some actual somatic experience. So that's going to be really powerful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I'm excited too. I'm excited too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get really excited. I'm going to start moving my body, doing a shimmy. So the first question is, what does leadership mean to you?
Well, I feel like it's almost like, of course, leadership includes embodiment, right? This capacity to harness the wisdom of all the layers of our being. Um, and I would say leadership is also, I want to say co-creative, but also co-evolution is what keeps coming to mind. It's this capacity to hold space for others to live into their leadership and to understand that thread of connection that connects us to all other living beings, that connects us to the earth, that really connects us to everything. And so it's not divisive, right? It's fully inclusive.
Mm, that's beautiful. I love that. And what does old paradigm leadership mean to you?
I'd say old paradigm leadership is really more this top down, right? Like there's a hierarchy, it resides mostly in the head and the thinking. It's extractive versus regenerative. And it doesn't honor the wholeness, the wholeness being the threads of connection, but also the the wholeness of the wisdom that resides in every person involved within the organization or the group.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
seems also, it feels very solitary as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it does. And what does new paradigm leadership mean to you?
A new paradigm leadership includes that quality of emergence and coevolution, that knowing that the leader can hold a space for maybe having a vision for something bigger, the potential for something bigger, but that even within that container, there's this trust that other things will emerge because of the dynamics of the group that's being worked with, the dynamics of the vision itself interacting with real life and coming to life.
I love that. Mm. Oh, I love asking these questions because
Mm.
everyone says something quite different, and it's just so enriching to hear all the different perspectives. And when you hear the words awaken the new feminine paradigm, what emerges for you?
Hmm. What emerges is really having a seat at the table. So, this idea of arriving without controlling and finding equality without really with the sameness. I don't know if that makes sense, but that there's really this capacity to bring the fullness of the energy of the feminine, the women themselves, or the feminine itself, into leadership that just has that capacity to be with more and to create that regenerative, emergent holding and healing for humanity and for the planet. So I think really if I was going to take it down to just one thing, it'd be that last bit, right? That healing and holding for the planet and knowing that it can be done in a powerful and loving way.
So when you said a seat at the table, I I started tearing up. I got quite emotional and I had this vision of being in the museum looking at the Last Supper and it being all men, right?
Yeah,
There was one woman at that table and
yeah,
she's not even talked about in the church. And
yeah,
it was just like that really landed for me in a big way. Like a seat at the table, a seat at the sacred, divine, feminine table.
yeah,
Whew.
yeah. I think that's true in so many lineages. Um, there was a period of my life where I lived at a Zen temple, right? And part of the Zen practice is you chant every morning the lineage back to the Buddha. And I think it was in my getting close to my second year there, we finally received all of the women to chant back. So for so long, only the lineage of the men were chanted, right? Not the women were excluded from it. And just being able to bear witness to the women that were involved in that lineage was huge. But so many times just having just not the acknowledgement and the the directness of being able to sit at the table, right? Even though the power of the women is there, just not even having it really be clearly acknowledged. So
Yeah,
like we're moving into that era, into
we
that era.
are. We sure are. The new feminine paradigm is definitely awakening. And
Yeah.
we have found our voices and we cannot be silenced.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hear us roar. And,
Yeah.
somebody pointed out the other day, oh, Shamet, there are women in holy spiritual positions of power. They're called nuns. And I was like, wait, what? They're
Yeah.
silenced. They're
Yeah.
they're made to be quiet. It's just there's a different energy. There's a different, yeah. And, when I was making my video and coming up with images of women empowered as priestesses, and you look at the images of the priestess in her power,
Yeah.
and then you look at a nun, a picture of a nun. I mean, no disrespect, but there's a different frequency, a different energy
Yeah.
happening. And I feel like the priestess, in all of her power, is the one that has a place at the table personally. And so, thank you.
Yeah.
I loved that
Yeah.
answer. Oh, just opened
Yeah.
up so much inside me. Whew.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you were talking about the nuns, I just remember having this conversation about how in so many lineages, even the nuns are there at sort of the service of the male priest, right? So that I feel like you're absolutely right. There's like such a big difference. There's like, and not to say that I don't want to blanket that over all nuns and all practices throughout the world, but I think there is an element of that in a lot of places, like showing up in our full power versus like at the behest of someone else who is leading, right? The masculine that is leading. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, no disrespect at all towards nuns at all. And I know I have some friends that were nuns for years. They're now priestesses, as it
Mm.
happens. They found their power and they're moving and shaking in the world now. And it is just a different energy. But it just, in the paradigm that we're living in, it's, I think, important to just be aware of the difference in that dynamic and that energy. And you're right, mostly it is in service to the priest. So, yeah, we're just wanting equality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So do you consider yourself a leader?
I love that question. I like the question because I, prior to even hearing about the summit, I would have said no, and then it got me sort of diving into, well, what does it mean to be a leader? What do I think leadership is? Am I a leader? I am a leader. And so now I would say, yeah, yeah, absolutely, I'm a leader. And I feel like leadership can happen in so many ways, on so many levels. But yes, yeah,
Oh, that's great. I'm so happy that having the question inquired you to step into that, which is what has happened with a lot of the speakers that I've invited. I had one speaker in particular say, "Oh, no, no, I can't be in your summit. I'm not a leader." I was like, "Wait, what? You are a leader."
yeah,
Goodness me. And he had to
yeah,
go through a whole thing of, what does that mean? And the old paradigm leadership is not something that he wants to align his energy with. But the
yeah,
new paradigm of heart-led leadership, well, that's a whole different thing. So
yeah,
a whole healing took
yeah,
place in him as well, and he claimed it. Yeah, it was a powerful talk. So
yeah,
yay!
yeah,
This is what it's all
yeah.
about, awakening consciousness.
Yes, beautiful. Yeah, it really is a lovely invitation to claim the innate power for leadership.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
wonderful.
yeah.
Great. And I would love to know who your most admired leaders are.
Hmm. Yeah, this is a funny question because it's been coming up a lot in my life lately in a lot of different areas. And the people that I really admire the most are not really well known. So one person that really stands out is this woman, Anner, who had Anner's Cafe in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I worked for her in the 90s. But she just was a powerhouse, right? She was so committed to service and in terms of like serving the planet by the foods that she created and the whole way she ran her kitchen and her business. And just a powerhouse also in terms of just being a strong, powerful business owner in a time when I think it wasn't as easy to be a female business owner, right? The 80s moving into the 90s. I feel like we are in such a blessed space now where it's just a lot easier in many ways. There are way more female entrepreneurs that just all of that, that she was steadfast and strong and powerful, but also like soft and jolly and warm and nurturing. So she held it all really, really well.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You're bringing out the next question was what are your favorite qualities in leadership? But that's explaining those different qualities. And you're reminding me actually of a friend of mine that used to run a cafe here called Elements. And she just, wow, she's a powerhouse. So successful in what she does. And she's right there with the people, working with them, making the coffees, serving the food, engaging with the customers and engaging with her staff. And then she made that really successful. She sold that. She bought another restaurant. Now she's made that a huge success. She alchemized that whole place and just like a phoenix rising up out of the ashes because the restaurant was terrible. And now
Mm.
it's incredible. And I actually used to teach yoga there in the back area that she's now turned into a gift store, a metaphysical, spiritual
Oh,
gift store. It's really amazing. But so I worked for her
yeah.
for a while and I taught yoga to all the staff, and she would pay me to come in and teach yoga to all the staff and the customers. And like, wow, who does that? And she's so
Yeah.
sweet and so strong and just amazing. So, I'm always thinking Martin Luther King, but actually, the women that are in our communities that are leading by example of being strong and successful,
Mm.
but really kind. Like she's so kind. She came on my Bali retreat and like I stayed in a room with her, so I
Mm.
got to know her really well. And she's one of the most
Right.
lovely people that I know and such a powerful leader. Now, if I
Yeah.
asked her to be on this leadership summit, she'd be like, "Oh no, I'm not a leader." She would. Very humble.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's something special about
Mm,
remembering and honoring, I want to say the local leaders, but seeing even just the power of how one person in one place can just create this good that ripples out, right? Like not, like when I think about Anna, I'm thinking not just in the community, because absolutely, but she's been alive in me and all that I do for the last 20, 30 years, right? So that's like spanning space and time. And if that isn't leadership, I don't know what is. It's,
I
yeah.
love that. And what you're bringing my attention to is those types of really powerful leaders, they would not say, I'm a leader. They just are.
Mm.
They're just
Yeah.
doing it. And there's something to be said about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. Oh, I love this conversation.
Mm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Um, the other question that I skipped over is what do you think about and feel when you hear the word power?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I feel it here, right? Like in my solar plexus is where it lands for me. And the thoughts I have when I think about somebody that's powerful, it's that person that is really like rooted and centered and true to themselves and lives in alignment with their values, lives in alignment with the the truth of who they are. And not from an ego standpoint, but this continually sort of checking in with who they are in the moment and staying in alignment with that. I think there's a type of quiet, maybe I'd call it quiet power in that, where it's felt when you're in their presence.
Oh, I like that quiet power. Can you dive deeper into what quiet power means to you?
Yeah, quiet power means that being embodied in it, right? Being fully embodied, like not embodied in the power, but being fully inhabiting oneself, maybe is a better way to say it. And from my experience, when we're fully inhabited within our own selves, right, this ongoing sort of acceptance and being willing to be with all the parts of ourselves and being willing to take up space in the world, it's felt by others the moment they enter our sphere, right? There's something palpable in that where they're sort of getting back to what we were just talking about, the local, the people who wouldn't call themselves leaders, right? It's just them being in their fullest essence that just sort of permeates into everything around them. And that to me feels like very like quiet power because it's settled, it's grounded, it's there, and it's done without trying or striving. It's just present.
I love that. It's so true. I've met people that are so quiet. There was a girl in film school years ago, um, and she was so quiet and she never said very much, but she ended up directing one of the films. And wow, she was very powerful, but very, very quiet, very soft spoken, and not a lot of words, but a very, very powerful woman. And I love that. I'm hearing a lot about quiet power recently. I don't know if it's because it's just in my consciousness now, but I've been hearing more and more about it. So, and what really stood out for me is that embodied essence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Embodied essence is power.
Yeah. I think absolutely. And if you have a meditation practice, right? So if you have if anyone out there has a meditation practice and you sit alone, it's one thing. But then if you sit with other people, and especially if you sit with anyone who's had a practice for an extended period of time, you feel it the moment that they sit on the cushion next to you. Right? And so I think it is that em- embodied essence, that presence, that quality of presence that is just thriving within a person.
Mhm. And it's magnetic, isn't it?
Oh, so magnetic, so magnetic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very attractive people that meditate and do their spiritual
yeah.
practice. I always find them very, very attractive. I've done Vipassana for years and I go and I serve and it's just like they're so beautiful, just this shining light within them. And so I love that answer. Thank you so much. So I've got a really, really big question for you. If you were made leader of the world,
Mm.
what would you do? What are your first things
Mm.
you would implement?
I would find my circle. I would find the people to lead with. Yeah. So I think, yeah, that feels like the most important thing, right? Is first to find the circle and then to hopefully work with that circle, work with others to, I can't even put it, I don't have like a practical thing, but how to figure out how can we help to heal and whole the planet and all its inhabitants, right? How can we start to remember that we as human beings are part of nature. We're not even separate from it. And so when we reduce the harm in ourselves, we can reduce the harm in the planet. When we reduce the violence in ourselves, we can reduce the violence with other people. And so how to bring that into the cornerstone so that maybe as humanity we can find our way forward in a more healthful, soulful way.
I love that so much. My empowered vision of the future is to have a president of the United States of America that has these ideals at the core and
Yeah.
foundation. Can you imagine? Wow.
Oh, if we could get those leaders everywhere, that would be absolutely
Everywhere, not
fantastic.
just the United
Yeah.
States, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I've just been thinking about the US a lot and with everything that's going on because I'm from California. I was born in the States. I've been living outside the United States for over 25 years and, watching it from a distance and going, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what inspired this leadership summit."
Mm.
I'm feeling a fire underneath me.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Well, we certainly could use more, a lot more of that in our leadership here. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we've had
Yeah.
two female prime ministers here in New Zealand. Lived in Sweden for 4 years. We had, there's women leading in other countries. So
Yeah.
it, you know, it's got to
Hmm.
happen. We got to just keep rising up. Not to say that, I'm for women and against men, but there needs to be equality, and heart-centered feminine leadership whether it's
Yeah.
within a woman's body or a male body for that matter. But yeah, I love what you're saying about the circle. You can see I put everybody, all our pictures in a circle because that's the circle of life, the
Yeah.
equality of human beings. And I love that the first thing you would do is find your tribe to have that
Yeah.
support. Beautiful.
Yeah. We have to do it together. We have to do it together. Yeah. I don't
Mm,
think there's any other way. And I just want to echo what you said a moment ago too of having that heart-centered, feminine connected leader that could be a woman or not a woman, but someone connected to that. And as you were speaking, I'm like, well, maybe that's why there hasn't been a female president in the United States yet, right? We're waiting for the person who can trust that rather than uh, feeling the compulsion to step into the masculine to lead, regardless of their gender identity. So,
mm.
yeah.
Love that. Thank you, Buffy. Gosh, I've really, really enjoyed this conversation. I know the viewers are going to love this too. It's so good. So many great nuggets. Do you have any last and final words of wisdom?
Oh, I think really just um, to know that we all have the wisdom, we all have power within us, and that it is absolutely possible to start to quiet the noise. And that I'm so excited to see the other talks that you've had is actually what's most top of mind for me is that I can't wait to broaden my own view on what leadership is. So thank you. I know that's not really a wisdom, but it's really alive in me. So I want to thank you for hosting this.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's been very enlightening. I've learned so much. And in fact, I'm like, I love doing summits because I learn so much during the process of all the conversations. And it is my feeling that these conversations that we have are, because we are the storytellers, and this is what is awakening consciousness. So much is edited and homogenized in the world. And if we can have these deep and meaningful, real conversations, then this is what awakens people. And yeah, so wonderful. I'm glad that you're looking forward to it. There's some really, really wonderful things being said, a rich tapestry and a diversity of things that are spoken about in the summit. I
Oh,
did that
great.
specifically to pick different people from different places of consciousness to weave this story, unveiling. Um, and we're all learning as we go, too. That's why it's new paradigm, because we're still figuring out what is this new feminine paradigm? What does it look like? We have this understanding that, women have stepped into the male roles, and that isn't really working. There has to be something new. I want to see women be women and be powerful. And it was really interesting, you know, one of the conversations we were having. And I witnessed myself. Oh, no, it was a podcast episode. And I was on the podcast and I witnessed myself talking about female power as being aggressive. And I was reflecting on that all day today because I've been up since 4. And I've been thinking about it. I was like, wait, hang on. Isn't that interesting that when a man is really powerful, he's powerful. When he's really strong, he's powerful. He's a leader. If a woman is really strong and really powerful, then she's aggressive. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even catch that until today. And I was like, oh my goddess, I'm still learning too. I may be a leader and teaching about this stuff, but it's all this unraveling and reprogramming, unveiling, letting go, and updating our perceptions, our beliefs. And so, yeah, we are awakening and we are rising and we're doing it together. So, thank you.
Yeah. And how beautiful that it is this sort of um, leaning into the unknown, right? As the paradigm shifts, which in and of itself is a little bit feminine. So we get to do that dance of the fertile unknown as it unfolds and unveils before us and trust what's coming out of it. Yeah.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And, I think also just to about the aggressiveness, when an animal in nature's backed into a corner, they do become aggressive because they're afraid.
Yeah.
And so, some forgiveness and some compassion, empathy for not just women, but humans that have been pushed down, that when they do start to step into their power, they can be a bit aggressive, but they're learning, they're stepping into their power. So, all of you viewers that are listening, if you've had moments where you're aggressive, just forgive yourself. You're coming into your power, you're figuring it out. I remember when I was coming into my voice, I had been a doormat and I'd been closed off and shut down. And then when I came into my voice, I was like, blah, 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 like talking way too much.
Yeah.
And then I had
Yeah.
to learn how to go, okay, we need to kind of moderate this and like just calm down.
Yeah. Yeah, and it feels like a normal part of learning, doesn't it? That like you're here and then the pendulum sort of has to swing all the way over here and then you can refine it somewhere in the center. But it feels like a normal part of that process. Yeah.
Absolutely. It sure is. And so, what have you been up to? And I've heard you've got a free offering for everyone. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And also tell us about the offering that you're going to make on the 3-day summit live event.
Yeah, so I have a short little offering that is a guided audio series on how to work with embodiment and work with the body to move past fear and self-doubt. And it includes a little bit of what I call embodied knowledge, right? So understanding some of the theory and the how, and then an actual movement practice that you can lean into to move beyond the fear, the self-doubt, and to start to work with maybe unraveling some of the subconscious programming that's behind that. Yeah. And
Ooh.
then for the summit on the 3-day, I'll be offering what I call somatic insights, where we'll go through a little bit of a movement process. It also includes a little bit of journaling so that we get to work with anything that's coming up in life. So it could be a challenge, a curiosity, something we want to cultivate, and we get to take that into a little bit of meditation, a little bit of movement, a little bit of the journaling. And the journaling is, I think, quite potent at the end because it really allows us to tap into some of the what's called like the neuroplastic state in physiology, right? That chemical soup that's happening in the brain that can really be potent and powerful for laying down new tracks and creating sustainable change. So I'm very, very excited to share it with you and everyone there.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I'm so looking forward to that. Oh, Buffy, it's been amazing to have this conversation with you. I could spend another hour easily diving even deeper into this whole subject, but we'll leave that to the next summit or
Yeah.
the podcast.
Ooh, sounds good. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to your the 3 day and your amazing offering. And I am personally looking forward to that freebie as well. That sounds amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.